Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Billy Wilder Theater, home of the public programs for the UCLA Film and Television Archive. My name is Paul Malcolm. I'm the senior public programmer for the archive. We'd like to thank all of the individuals and organizations that have helped make tonight's screening possible. All of the archive screenings in the Wilder are free thanks to a gift from an anonymous donor. We are grateful to them for their support. This series and screening has been made possible with support from the Nite Initiative at UCLA for Globalizing Japanese Humanities. I want to thank Michael Emmerich at the Nite Initiative for all his support of archive programming. I want to thank all our community partners for helping us to spread the word about this series. And finally, I want to thank Kathy Ackers and Kate Park for initiating the conversation about this series with an email way back in 2023. Thank you all for coming out to the closing night of our series celebrating the 30th anniversary of Giant Robot magazine. This series was curated by Giant Robot founder Eric Nakamura, and it has been a real honor and pleasure to work with him. It's also just been extraordinary to be in the theater over the last 7 nights and celebrating something that had a really big impact on me, Giant Robot magazine, but also seeing so many people like learning about what Giant Robot was and learning about what it is now through these screenings. We had a lot of people in the Q&A say, I didn't know about Giant Robot before. And that has been really quite, I think, very powerful for me, that people have been rediscovering or discovering their love of Giant Robot through this series, which has been really great. But anyway, Eric is here with us, so let's give Eric a round of applause. He's in the back row right there. Thank you. So tonight, we are absolutely thrilled to be closing out this amazing series with a screening of Director Derek Yee's One Night in Mongkok from 2004. We are especially thrilled that its star, filmmaker, actor, and Giant Robot contributor, Daniel Wu, is here with us tonight. Daniel's in the seat right there. Thank you so much, Daniel. So after the film, Daniel will join Eric and Giant Robot co-editor Martin Wong and myself on stage for a conversation. Please stick around for that. And now, please help me welcome to the stage Eric Nakamura.
Thanks, Paul. Hey, thanks so much for coming out. I'll be really brief. Daniel Wu, amazing. He's wrote for Giant Robot, which is crazy, right? He wrote for Giant Robot for about 10 years, tons of issues. You would think, here he is. He's an actor, pretty well known, but yet he always made time for us. And that's one of the coolest parts about Daniel is our friendship. Through Giant Robot's, peaks and valleys, I guess, throughout the magazine's duration, all the way to the current day. He's remained our friend, and that's also amazing. So this movie's going to be quite awesome. I think it's the 20th year. Is that correct? 20th anniversary of this movie, and it's one of his hot ones. So welcome to the stage, Daniel.
Hey, guys. Thanks for coming out. Like they said, it's the 20th anniversary of this film. I think all of you were babies when this movie came out. So this is a good opportunity for you guys to actually see this film on screen. I think it's one of my favorite films that I've done out of like 70-something films. But it also marked a very important part of my career where I took a big change and started working with Derek Yee. And this was the first of 6 collaborations. I've always cherished the relationship that I've had with Derek Yee to this day, and it's very rare that you have an opportunity to work with someone so many times, but this was the beginning of that relationship. So enjoy the movie, and we'll be back later for the Q&A afterwards.
So actor, producer, director Daniel Wu has appeared in over 60 films since he made his big screen debut in 1998, including Gen X Cops, New Police Story, The Demon Within, Protégé, Warcraft, and Tomb Raider. On television, he is best known for his roles in the hit AMC series Into the Badlands and the Disney series American Born Chinese. He won a Golden Horse Award for Best Supporting Actor for New Police Story, and in 2007, he won Best New Director at the Hong Kong Film Awards for his debut feature film, The Heavenly Kings. Please help me welcome to the stage Daniel Wu, Eric Nakamura, and Martin Wong.
That was a happy movie, right?
You're doing fine there, right up until the very end.
Yeah, doing all right.
It all goes south.
Dude, I forgot it was a Christmas movie.
Yes, right. That's right. That's true.
Die Hard.
Yeah. I feel like maybe I should just let you three talk and I'm just sort of up here. But, Daniel, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Also, opening night, and of course in the documentary on Giant Robot, you shared your story about your relationship with the magazine, Eric and Martin, and what it meant to you. Would you mind sharing that story just a little bit, like how you first learned about Giant Robot and why you wanted to become part of it?
Sure. At the time, I was still in school. I was studying architecture, and I was doing a summer internship in an architecture office, and I had to go to this location that was going to be a restaurant and go make measurements. And then I was standing outside afterwards, and there was a bookshop next door, and I was looking in the window, and I saw a bunch of zines at the bottom, and I looked down, and I saw a giant robot with this sumo wrestler on it. And I was like...
That was issue number 1.
Yeah, issue number 1. Okay. It was issue number 1. And I was like, this is not a regular zine. This is something different. Something about the giant robot and the sumo wrestler made me think this is specifically Asian. So I went into the store, bought the book, and then just sat in my car and read it from cover to cover and was just completely shocked that there was something like this that existed, and that I always felt like I was a kind of an outsider growing up. I wasn't necessarily the model minority Asian kid growing up. Although I was very close to my heritage and I did kung fu and things like that, I was also a skateboarder, was into punk rock music, so I never really felt like I fit anywhere. And when I read this magazine, the zine, I felt like it covered everything that I was interested in, and I was shocked. And so I became a fan right away, and I think the following summer I wrote a letter to Martin, saying, hey, I'm a huge fan of the zine. I see that you guys write about Hong Kong movies and Kung Fu. I practice Kung Fu. Maybe I could help contribute. And then it was a slow process. I eventually became pen pals with Martin. And then we met in New York City one time to go see a show. And then it wasn't until 1997 that I went to Hong Kong where I wrote my first piece. Martin asked me to write my first piece for Giant Robot. And it was about the handover, Hong Kong handover. And then that began, that was the beginning of a 10-year long, as Eric said earlier, a 10-year long working relationship with these guys.
Yeah, maybe 13 or 14 years. Because
Yeah,
that was
maybe.
97, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. 97. So yeah, 13 years. Yeah. So a long time. And it was kind of a interesting thing because it was, I was starting out as an actor in Hong Kong, and kind of my career was rising, and I was also still writing for Giant Robot, and I was kind of an insider writing about Hong Kong film. I would go to the Hong Kong Film Awards and write about what I saw there. And so it was a really interesting thing to have these parallel careers as a writer and as an actor, and one where I could be just myself, and one could be one where I was a celebrity actor.
Can you talk about, I guess for those that maybe don't know, can you talk about what that industry was like at that time?
So 97, Hong Kong kind of had its peak in the late 80s. And by 97, it was kind of rounding out. And by peak, I mean they were doing this is the period of John Woo, Ringo Lam, and all those guys. 300 films a year, which is crazy for a city of 7 million people at the time. And so it was a tremendous amount of volume, but they were pretty much the entertainment center of all of Chinese-speaking Asia at the time. Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, mainland China, everywhere. And so by 97, it kind of run its course. And so we had gone down from 300 films a year to maybe 40. Still a lot, but a lot less than before. And so I kind of came in at the back end, but there's still a lot of legends were still working, still directing, and I kind of slipped in at that point in my career. Yeah.
It's cool that you came up with a lot of other young actors then, like you see Sam Lee.
Yeah, Sam Lee, became good friends with him. He started probably, I think, a little bit before me with Made in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And then, let's see, there's Stephen Fong, Nicholas Jie, Xie Tingfeng. We all started pretty much the same year. Yeah.
Cecilia Chung is amazing in this film as well.
Yeah, she's a amazing actress. By the time we did this movie, she had already won some awards. Right. She'd worked with Stephen Chow. She did some very big films, and she was just an incredible actress. And she's one of these actresses that is just natural at it. I don't think she really has a process. Right. I don't think she can really explain what she's doing. She just is the role. And with this role, it's interesting because she was not a Mandarin speaker, but she just learned it phonetically and just did it at the time. She now can speak fluent Mandarin, but at the time she wasn't fluent at it. And so oftentimes there was a coach on set, and she had to quickly learn and then could do it, but she could do it very quickly. Just very clever, very smart, naturally talented actress.
I was thinking a little bit about your career watching this film. I mean, the thing about this movie, there's a lot of fantastic set pieces in it, action set pieces in it. But the thing that always sticks with me about this film is the the network of like immigrants, people from the mainland who have come to Hong Kong, that he comes there with this mission, but he discovers this whole network and community of people who are there trying to escape poverty, trying to make their that's what really strikes me. Where he's both a fish. He's supposed to be this professional hitman, but he's also this fish out of water.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's a multi-layered film. On the surface it's kind of a noirish Hong Kong action film, but it goes much deeper than that. And like just the characters, and these characters who at that time in the 80s and 90s, a lot of people were sneaking into Hong Kong for a better life. It's not that way at all anymore, but at that time there was a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in that way, and a lot of these characters reflect upon that. And a lot of people in Hong Kong now came from that era where they came in by boat, or some swam in to Hong Kong, and so it captures that side. Also captures the side of the police in a very grounded, like cinema verite kind of way. Right. And it kind of captured the culture and the times of Hong Kong at that time.
Did that? I mean,
and not to mention the location, Mongkok, with the whole character in the film. I think is the place. That place is a very special place in Hong Kong, in that it's densely populated, and you can find anything you want there, like shopping wise, but illicit things as well. All that is just piled on top of each other in this one small little area of the Kowloon side of Hong Kong.
I mean, talking about the dynamics of the Hong Kong film industry. So Derek Yee won Best Director and Best Screenplay for this film at the Hong Kong Film Awards. But this film really stood out from the kind of action films that were being made at that time. Does this seem like a kind of a departure or something really different for you? Is that what drew you to the project?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big departure for me because I had done some kind of more commercial action films, but a lot of people were pushing me to do romantic comedies, which I hate. So I didn't really like doing that kind of stuff. And I really was wanting to do something darker and more gritty like this. And just nobody was asking me to do those kind of things. So Derek took a chance on me. And I remember when we first met, I'm like, why do you want me to play this character? There's so many other actors that could play this better than me, I think. And he's like, well, no, I think you have some potential, and I think you can give this a shot. Plus, you can speak better Mandarin than most Hong Kong actors at the time. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. It was a lot of pressure. I remember being really, really nervous about it, making the whole thing. I was very young. I was a new actor. I was still learning the craft. Right. But then I was finally doing something that I really, really wanted to do. And then it became this, like I said earlier, this long relationship with me and Derek over 6 films. Over time, and it was, I really have to thank him for allowing me to take that turn in my career. And then after that, it was like 10 or 15 years of really dark stuff. And then now it was only until like maybe past 10 years that I've kind of switched to just doing some things that are slightly different and less dark and sad at the end.
Yeah, but this one, there's actually not a lot of fighting or guns or even car chases. Like, it's mostly character stuff.
Yeah, it's a character ensemble cast with playing with tension. It's like the whole movie is about this tension, this 24 hours in Hong Kong. And I think that was what was really appealing to me about it. It was such an interesting story, and also that this killer wasn't like the Chow Yun-fat, the killer. Where he's in a white suit looking really cool with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. It wasn't that. He's a country bumpkin who was hired to do this job for really cheap and then be expendable. And that's actually more realistic than not. Those kind of cases did happen in Hong Kong, and they were done by people like that and not like professional killers that were really cool, And also this story is actually based on a true instance where a group of police officers were looking for a guy who had murdered somebody, and what happened at the end where he shows up in the 7-Eleven, they happen to be having a midnight snack right next to the 7-Eleven. That is true, and they end up catching the guy at that moment. But then the rest of the story is fictionalized, but he based it off that one moment.
Because that's so crazy. You think that was the fictional part because they've been looking for him the whole movie.
Right.
Bump into him in the street.
I think Derek saw that news clip and was like, "This is really interesting," and so he created this whole backstory behind it.
How do you go from visiting Hong Kong, right, in '97, and then actually acting, but then learning how to act? Like, how do you actually get into all that?
Man, that was okay. So the acting started. As I said earlier, I was an architect, and I knew I wasn't going to get into the profession because the job, I did so many internships, and the job was disappointing to me because school was very creative, but the job wasn't as creative, and I just wanted to be in something that was creatively exciting. And so I was taking time off. 97 was, I graduated that year, and Hong Kong was going back to mainland China, and so I wanted to be part of that, to see, witness a historical moment. And then I was going to bum around Asia for 2 or 3 months and then come back and figure out what I was going to do. And I thought about, like, you know, going into graphic design, maybe even set design, things like that. And then at my last month there, I thought it was going to be my last month. I'd run out of money. I was going to go back. I was in a bar, and someone saw me and came up to me and asked me if I wanted to do a TV commercial. And so I did this TV commercial, and then I was able to get some money and keep traveling. And then a month later, the director of my first film, Yan Fan, of Bishonen, he saw that commercial and then called me in for an interview. And then after an hour talk, he's like, okay, I want you to be the lead in my film. I go, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'd studied some international film courses in college as part of my major, and I knew making films is not just fun and games. It's like, it's a serious art form. And I was like, I don't want to screw up this project for you. This is your dream. I don't want to be the one that screws it all up for you. So I actually turned him down because not only did I not know how to act, I didn't speak Cantonese, you know. And so it was a lot of pressure, and so I said, I can't take that pressure, and so I turned it down. And he kept calling me for probably like 2 or 3 weeks. And at the end of it, I was like, and I actually spoke to my mom. I'd actually gotten a job offer from a very famous Japanese architect that I really liked, but the conditions were terrible. It was like, work starts at 10 a.m. until 10 p.m., and then we break for dinner. And then we come back until work is done. And then you will live in the office. There's like a studio bedroom up in the office. And I think the pay was like $500 a month. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm trying to get away from, right? And so, but then I also had the script offer, and I called my mom, and I was like, what should I do? I have these 2 great opportunities. And she's like, well, you can always fall back on the architecture. But whenever you're going to be offered a movie, just try it. You know, and that's kind of not what most Chinese parents you'd expect to hear
really
from me.
Interesting
Chinese parents.
mom advice.
Yeah. But my mom was a college professor, and she was an advisor to many young kids all the time. So she just wanted people to be great, and so she wanted that for me, I guess, and told me to try it. She's like, "Don't be scared, just give it a shot." And so I listened to her, and I did it, and changed my whole life.
And you just knew how to act? Like you just got right into it?
Well, here's the thing: is like when I did my first movie, Bishonen, I had no idea what I was doing, and so I had 3 months to prepare. Where I was living was like a block away from the office. I would go there every single day. And I was like, to the director, I'm like, I don't know much about acting, but I'm looking at this character like a building, right? Like a building has a foundation, and that's what it sits on, and that's like his backstory, right? So if the foundation is not good, his backstory is abusive or trauma or whatever, that's going to affect how he stands, right? And then I go, then the structure of the building, if it's steel or wood or whatever, that's his internal strength. And then the skin of the building, whether it's, you know, glass or wood or whatever, that's what he's trying to project on to the world. And he goes, I've never heard anybody break down acting in that way, but it sounds like you have a process, so just stick with that. And so I did, and in fact, I still kind of use pieces of that today. Along with many other things that I've learned along the way. But that was the basis, the foundation of me learning how to act. And then I remember on the first movie, I really didn't know what I was doing, so I wasn't conscious of what I was doing, and so I just did it. And actually, that was probably the most freeing acting experience I've ever had, because after that, I started to self-criticize myself, watch everything I did, and be like, this is terrible, this is terrible. And I'm learning Cantonese at the same time. So I'm learning a language and learning how to act at the same time, and the whole world gets to see it, right? Everyone, they see my progress. And so you had to develop a very thick skin and not let that affect me, even though, you know, it was very, it definitely affects your self-confidence, you know, when you're being self-conscious. Like the most freeing, where I'm at now, almost 30 years later, is where you don't think about it. I don't even look at the monitor anymore when I'm working, because I just allow the performance to happen. And that's the most freeing. But it took me a long time to get to that stage. But yeah, it was a difficult process. It was tough, and I think in the end, you know, by the time I got to working with Derek, I'd figured out a process.
I had a sneaking suspicion on the opening night when you were here and you told your story that we had probably a fair number of people may have changed their majors that night after you told your
Like
story.
architects
or you know, engineering students, whatever. But so I have a question. I have one more question. We'll turn it over to the audience. So Martin and Eric, what was it like? This kid who came and asked you for a job at the magazine, and you're making a magazine writing about Asian culture and writing about pop culture, and then all of a sudden, over time, one of your contributors becomes Asian pop culture. I'm really curious. I mean, you're all friends now, so I'm curious how how your relationship has sort of evolved as Giant Robot grew and Daniel became a star.
Well, I remember the first letter he sent. It was after issue 7, which had the alcohol reviews. And I wrote a little sidebar about Drunken Master 2, that Jackie Chan movie.
One of the best ones.
Yeah, and I was saying, oh man, I called all these studios and no one will teach me, which is total BS because I don't even drink or do martial arts. But it was just a cool sidebar.
Drunken Kung Fu, you don't have to be drunk to do it.
But yeah, Dan said, I'll teach you. So we became friends, and I met him in New York, and actually we went to the Tokyo Shock Boys show that you recommended, and we wrote an article about it. And I visited you in San Francisco when we visited the Bruce Lee Museum.
Oh, that's right.
In the Sunset District, and he was there. And I didn't even realize I was big timing you and taking you to these articles and not letting you write them. But somehow he rose above.
Yeah, I just persevered. I just really wanted to be part of the Giant Robot family, And I remember, I'd written a couple articles, and in the magazine they would thank their contributors, but there was one section for the inner circle, and that was like a goal. I wanted to be in the inner circle because only a few people were in there. And I remember it was like a few articles in that I finally made it to the inner circle, and no one told me about it. I just flipped the page. I'm like, oh, I made the inner circle, yes.
You mean the plaque didn't show up at your doorstep?
No,
it's just so funny.
The trophy? No, I didn't get it.
Those things are like
still in your mom's garage.
No, they don't even matter though. All these kind of inner circle and all the little details are just sort of.
It doesn't matter to you guys.
Yeah, they're more important for everybody else, but they didn't mean much to
create the
frankly,
circles. Everyone else wants to get it.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It meant a lot to me, and when I got to that level, I was like so happy, super happy.
We had a pretty cool inner circle, I got to say.
Yeah,
but it was incredible having a mole in Hong Kong because we were just dorky fans going to see movies. In the San Gabriel Valley and the Chinese theaters, we'd go see these double features, and then suddenly we have someone who's in them.
Yeah, it's just weird too, right? It's like I went to Hong Kong, and there's paparazzi, right? I'm not used to that at all, or I've never really seen that except for on TV. And then, sure enough, we go to dinner, and it's like there's paparazzi like everywhere, and I'm like, is this real? And then, yeah, but that's your life out there, right? It was like.
Yeah, and I probably never spoke about that to you guys.
Yeah,
right?
but it was like 5 paparazzis, and you're like, yeah, the other guys they get 1, but you're like, but me I get 5, and and literally,
I did.
Yeah,
I said that.
Well, it's true. You said that. He goes, yeah, I get 5, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, so that was like how it was there, and I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. Like I'm not used to that, or I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I think people in Hong Kong, they don't realize that, or maybe it takes someone to come from the U.S. and California and come out of punk rock and skateboarding and street art to go over there, and he introduced us to all of his friends. There was LMF and Sam Lee, and then there's Prodip, this really rad artist, Michael Lau, and there was this whole indie underground in Hong Kong that's trying to do really interesting, cool, artistic, subversive things in this really capitalist commercial place.
Yeah, it was interesting because for me it was kind of like a double identity because my kind of public image, because I didn't speak Chinese so well, I just didn't talk that much, and so people just thought I was a really nice, good-looking guy, and they didn't realize I had this whole subversive culture, a subversive part of me that I didn't really talk about that much, like skateboarding, punk rock music, whatever, all that kind of rebellious stuff that I grew up with. And so, but I was able to write in that way in the magazine. So it was very a dualistic identity, but it was very fulfilling to me to write for Giant Robot because I was really writing as myself. I look back at some of the articles now that's in the book, if you somehow have it, the one that's in there, I kind of cringe because it's like 25-year-old me, and I'm not that person anymore, but it was a little bit more braggadocious than I thought I was. But yeah, sure. It was a good time, and I really loved writing for Giant Robot.
I think some people probably don't know that although you got famous, I guess you got famous out there, and you're doing all these movies, you were also doing what is that thing you were doing, that video series? That
Cheese Scene?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You were doing things like that. Then you make a documentary, your own, or what do you call it? Rockumentary.
Yeah.
That's those are all subversive. And
yeah, it's true.
strange.
It's true, and I still tried to hold on to that somehow. And so the TV show that he's talking about was like when Jackass was really popular in the U.S. I was a huge fan of that show, and so MTV Asia asked us to do something similar, and so we made this show called Chisin, which is in Cantonese that means crazy, right? And so I did one season of that. I did some really crazy, stupid stunts, and then what was the other thing we were talking about?
But you also did it with like a bunch of your actor friends,
Yeah,
musician
yeah,
friends.
yeah. All the subversive friends. They're like the LMF guys, the Sam Lee. It was all the guys that I became really good friends with. I clung on to those people. I didn't necessarily become friends with like bigger mainstream stars just because I didn't have much to relate to. But all the people that were kind of subversive minded like me, I became really close with.
You made
like-
your own documentary, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And so yeah, when I did Heavenly Kings, 四大天王, that was a very subversive film about, again, I was saying earlier, I grew up listening to punk rock music, hip hop music, independent music, and so I was very put off by cantopop. It was very manufactured, pop music, and I never really liked it, even though a lot of my friends were in it. And so I made this movie that lampooned that whole music industry because it was like, I mean, now this style of music has taken over the world. I mean, this pop music factory, like BTS, all that stuff, it's gone off. But I had my film was a social commentary on that, and that you didn't really need to be a singer to become a singer. With things like auto tune and all that stuff, it could make you a singer. So you just had to fake it till you make it, right? And so we were in that movie, Heavenly Kings. Heavenly Kings was also making fun of. The real Heavenly Kings at the time was Andy Lau, Leon Lai, Jackie Jiang, and Aaron Kwok, right? And that was their name. The names they were given to them by the media as the Heavenly Kings of pop. And so we made this movie that kind of lampooned that name. And we were a boy band. We became a real boy band, meaning 3 other friends. And we went out and performed for like over a year and a half while we were filming this movie that was done in cinema verite style. The fake documentary style, and the whole time everyone thought we were a real boy band, and we would do things like mess up on stage on purpose, like get the dance routines wrong or yell at each other, and sometimes backstage we get in fights, but it was all staged. We get in fights where people would see it, and the media would be back there, and they'd see it, and then they'd write about it, and then we used all that stuff in the film to show that, like, and this became the way of the world. It was meant to be a commentary to kind of maybe like stop this kind of stuff, but it just kept going, which is like, if you just in the news a lot, you're going to get popular, and, our next president uses that same tactic, just say sensational crap all the time and you'll be in the news. And so we did that to be in the news a lot, and it worked. And we're just showing basically how the whole pop machine works.
We were all having a good time, and then you had to mention.
Yeah.
Let's turn it over for questions from the audience. Raise your hand, and we'll bring a mic to you. Okay, so let's go right here in the center. We're going to bring a mic to you. Just wait for the mic.
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for coming. It's my second time here, and I came like in the beginning night, like the opening night for Giant Robot. So my name's Lisa, and I'm a USC film production student, so I'm really interested in the production side of this movie. And so I'm wondering, so first, do you use like stunt double for all the fighting scenes? And second, how many hours do you work every day? And third, do you actually block those streets and fill with extras, or did you use the real street at that time? Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to that last question. So a lot of it was shot without permits or anything. Like the bits of it with us, like running through the streets with all the people, that was real people. And so the way we filmed that is we went up onto a rooftop, and the director had stand-ins and showed us the path of where we're going to run and how we're going to do it. And then we would just go down and do one take and get it done that way. And then that bit on the bridge, some of it was closed off, but not all of it. So there's people all around, and we had to really kind of film and then get out of the way. Like me and Cecilia had to go hide somewhere, and then we pop back out and film something, and then we go hide somewhere. And because that area, you can't really block off Mongkok. It's just too hard to do that. And it's actually, in Hong Kong, the whole career I was there, I don't recall ever blocking off streets unless it was like nighttime. Because the Hong Kong government is not really great at giving us permits all the time. They would do it for Hollywood films for some reason, but they wouldn't do it for our local films. So you'd have to do this guerrilla style of filming. Stunt double, I did mostly everything except for the very last fall in the end where the guy lands on where I land on my face. I wanted to do it, but the director wouldn't let me do it because he's like, you might actually really get hurt, so let's not have you do that. But I can tell you the beating part where my head is getting smashed on the door handle, there was a foam door handle on that one side, but there's one bit where he kicks me in the face. So one of the actors, Qian Jiale, it was the action coordinator. He's the one in the brown leather jacket. And so the way they film that usually is they put get a pair of pants and a shoe and they stick a broomstick handle down it and then they just hit you in the face with it, right? But he told me, he goes, okay, Daniel, we want to get this in one take, so it's going to be really hard, okay? I'm just warning you. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. And then 3, 2, 1, action, and he just bam, slams me in the face with it. It was really hard. And he tells the story now. He's like, the one time that Daniel swore at me was in that thing, because after I hit him and they called cut, I just went, fuck, right? Because it just his shoe in my face. Still wasn't the same as a real kick, but it still hurt a lot. What was the other question?
How many hours do you work every day?
Long hours. I like to say 10 to 12, sometimes more,
Architect's
14,
hours.
16. Yeah, architect's hours. I was totally... we did crazy hours in Hong Kong films. I did a 27-hour day twice, like round the clock, 2 times on different films. But I have to say, architecture school definitely prepped me for that because we did all-nighters all the time.
So when you do projects out there, are hours still similar to that?
Now I think, because I'm old now, I can't really do that anymore. So I have it in my contract. I work like 10 to 12-hour days. But they don't do that so much anymore. It's pretty civilized.
Another question from the audience? Let's go right down here in front.
First of all, thanks so much for Ms. Daniel and Giant Robo for the Stop Asian Crime campaign the past couple of years, especially during the pandemic. That means a lot to us.
Sure.
Thank you. So quick question. So Mr. Daniel, when you look at yourself, that is like 20 years ago, you're way much younger. What do you think? Do you have any new feelings or reflections of your role or your performance?
Well, I would have to say that this is probably one of my favorite films of almost 70 films I've done, and I don't necessarily like all the films I've done. So this is one that I can watch, and every time I do watch it, I do see something different because it's, like I said earlier, it's very layered. There's so many really awesome aspects of this film that are not just in my performance in the ensemble. We have great actors, Alex Fong, Lam Xu, Sam Lee, all these guys. It just turned out really great performances for this film, and so this one I can watch again. What do I think? I look really young, and I do. This is why I don't watch my films that much. I don't. Usually, I watch a film at a premiere and I don't ever watch it again. Is because I start to pick apart the performance, and you shouldn't do that 30 years later. You know what I mean? There's no point in doing that. And so I try to avoid watching stuff I've done before.
Another question from the audience? Let's go right down here in front row. There we go.
Hi, my name is Lucia, and thank you so much for bringing us to this great movie. And it's my first time watching it. And I have a question for Mr. Wu. I want to ask, from your perspective, how are you going to interpret the final action of life, his choices of shooting to either the big badass and also a policeman he meets? Do you think it's a choice of self, maintaining self-dignity and self-values, or it is a choice of others, maintaining a justice or a romantic care to another main character?
That's a really great question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's a product of what's happening around him. He's reacting to that. He's a fish out of water, and so everything is new to him. And so in that final act, there's emotion there. And so what you're saying about dignity, and he has a moral standing. You can see that through the whole film, is that he stands for a certain thing. One is that he's back in Hong Kong looking for, although he's supposed to go kill somebody, he's looking for his lost love, right? and then he meets Cecilia's character and kind of has feelings for her, but he can't realize them because he's still looking for that girl. But when she, and even when he gets beat up, it's not about him getting beat up, it's the way that she was treated, right? That bothers him. And that's why that motivates him to get back up after getting beat like that. And then going to try and get these guys, right? And getting that gun. I don't think he meant to kill that cop. There's blood all over his face and in his eyes, and there's a bunch of people coming at him. So he just fired the gun. And I think that's what's tragic about it, is that at that point, it's the emotional boiling point for this character. He's had enough, right? And he just explodes in that moment. And so there is collateral damage with that.
There's also the interesting parallel between those two characters, the young cop and then the young kid, especially when the detective tells the young cop, think twice. When your character's going down the stairs, I'm going to kill him. I just kept thinking, think twice. Think twice, man.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a lot of little Easter eggs like that throughout the thing. And then also just so tragic with that character, trying to be a good cop, do the right thing, and even against some of the dirty cops, and then he accidentally kills somebody, and then he gets killed, and so it's a very tragic character.
Any questions on over here? Let's go right on the aisle here.
Hi, thanks for coming and sharing this movie. So unlike most films, there's two clear storylines and there's like minimum overlap until the very end. So how does that affect like the filming process, and do you see others in the script, or do you kind of like focus on your own storyline and kind of like don't know what the others are kind of like working on?
Well, obviously I read the scripts, I knew what everyone was doing, but we weren't sure what they were filming. When the cops were filming their story, I wasn't at work, so I wasn't there until the very end. And I really like that aspect of this movie, that you have these two very compelling storylines that are running parallel throughout the whole thing, and that's how you build that tension throughout the film. It was a really fun process. So it was really, the most of the movie was just me and Cecilia. That's how my memory of the film was.
I like how the gang war just vanishes. Like you don't even know like that aspect of the plot.
Right.
Doesn't even matter.
Yeah, at that point.
So we have time for one more question. Let me see if there's anyone on this side. Okay, we'll go right here in the center.
First one is talking about the Heavenly King. That was when I was in high school, a long time back. You really fooled me because I thought it was really real because I saw it on the media all the time.
Yeah, don't feel bad. Only 12 people, maybe 5 people knew it was fake the whole time.
I know it was for like a year or so, and I was really hope that I can get an album. Do you still remember the song? How to sing the song Adam's Choice?
No. Not at all. There's a rap in it. I rap in it, but
right. I downloaded that in my MP3 like long time ago.
Right. I wrote it, but I don't remember it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't. It was a long time ago. It was 2007.
Yeah,
I'm 50 now. I don't have the memory space for that anymore.
And the second question is, so at the current stage, you have a lot of film which is kind of dark and a lot of your character got killed at the end of the movie. So right now,
I think I've died in like 70% of my movies.
A lot of them, yeah. So for your current stage, what would be the new type of movie or character you would like to try?
Going back to dying in movies, it's a tradition in Hong Kong movies. When you die in a movie, they give you a hongbao, right? And so I've kept every single one of those, and I have like a stack of them because I find it interesting. You're supposed to spend it, but I didn't. And then what was your second question?
Like what type of character or movie that you want to try right now?
So yeah, I've been American-born Chinese, things like that. Wanting having a daughter or having a kid now, that's totally changed me, and so I want to do things that she can watch. Like she's not gonna watch this, no, I don't think so. Although she's really into horror movies, she's not watched this yet. When my wife watched this movie, I think we were on the plane together. And at the time we weren't married yet, and I looked over, and she was crying, right? And I was watching something different, and I go, "Why are you crying?" And I looked, and she's watching my movie, and she's like, "You just died." I'm like, "But I'm here." I'm like, "Right here." So in the past few years, I've been trying to do things that are more family friendly, maybe. I wouldn't say family friendly, but like different kinds of topics, and I'm a different person now, a little more mature, a little different. And so like Jiemi, Decoded, I played a father for the first time, and that was a very fun role to play because it was very subtle and nuanced, as opposed to being big in action.
You got nominated for an award, right? For that
Yeah,
one?
I just won an award in Australia for that Best Supporting Actor, and then I just did over the summer Cold War. There was a Hong Kong movie called Cold War 1 and 2. It came out in 2017, 2019. We just did the prequels for that, where I play the commissioner of police. So I've always played like cops, detectives, maybe beat cops, but I've never played like a high-end, top level police officer who's a dirty criminal. But the movie's not as dark as that, and so it's really, I would say, I'm trying different things now that are a lot different than what I've done before.
Okay, yeah. I hope you won't show Raven the 新宿事件. That was quite traumatizing.
Oh, wait, I get my hand cut off?
Right.
Yeah. Shinjuku incident, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So we have to wrap up, but I just want to say while you guys are all on stage, I mean, from the opening night to now, like this has been one of my favorite film series to do because the love in this room for Giant Robot and for everything that it means has been so. I mean, I've been feeling it. It's meant a lot to me. So I just want to say thank you so much, Daniel, Eric, and Martin for joining us.
Thank
you.
you.
Guys are
Thank
awesome
you
for
guys.
putting it on.
Thank you.
I'm just so glad that we've got to share, like you were saying earlier, share Giant Robot with a whole new audience. Like I think a lot of people in this room weren't around here when this magazine was going on, and it was a really special time. And so to be able to capture it in this book with the 30th anniversary, with the documentary, and then you guys all participating in these screenings, it's been amazing to see kind of a second life of Giant Robot.
And Giant Robot's still a store on Sawtell.
Yeah.
You should go check it out. Giant Robot and Giant Robot 2 right across the streets, the art gallery. So it's like 10 minutes away from here. And I forgot to say, how many UCLA students do we have in the audience here? Raise your hands. So Eric and Martin are both UCLA alums. So we're really excited to have them on stage here at the Wilder. So.
Yeah, I'm an Oregon alum. Sorry we beat you guys this year in football. But, we're just number one in the country now, that's all.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.